When you go no contact and the avoidant goes silent, the real game begins. Listen to the silence. It is not peaceful. It is absolutely deafening. You initiated no contact. You set a firm boundary and you closed the door. And then, you waited for the panic. You waited for them to realize they just lost the best thing that ever happened to them. But all you got was absolute, suffocating nothingness. Days turn into weeks. Every phone vibration sends a violent shock of cortisol straight through your veins. You look down with desperate hope. And it is just an email. Just another cruel reminder of the massive void they left behind. You are experiencing a profound biological withdrawal. Your brain is screaming for the dopamine hit of their name, but the screen remains dark, and they remain entirely, invisibly, silent. Let us be brutally honest. When you started no contact, you did not do it to move on. You did it to make them move toward you. You viewed it as a strategy, a wake-up call. You thought your absence would override their deep-seated fear of intimacy. You projected your own psychological wiring onto them, because if someone you loved walked away, you would chase them. You would tear down concrete walls to get them back. So, you assumed they would do exactly the same. But they did not. They matched your absence with an erasure so complete it makes you question if the relationship even happened at all. The avoidant has gone totally silent, and this silence feels like a deliberate punishment, a fatal blow to your self-worth. Your nervous system is currently on fire. Your amygdala is flashing red, signaling mortal danger of abandonment. You are burning up from the inside out with anxiety, while they seem perfectly fine, perfectly cold, perfectly unaffected. But you are looking at this all wrong. This silence is not the end of the story. In fact, this is the exact moment the real game begins. What you are experiencing is a violent collision of two completely different nervous systems, two entirely different survival mechanisms battling in the dark. You think their silence means they feel absolutely nothing, but neuroscience and attachment theory tell a deeply hidden, entirely different story. The avoidant is not an unfeeling machine. They are silent because their psychological machinery is doing exactly what it was programmed to do in childhood: survive. They have just activated their ultimate defense protocol, and this invisible psychological warfare has only just begun. You are trapped in an illusion created by your own anxious heart. Let us tear it down right now. When you initiated no contact, you acted from an anxious baseline. To you, love is proximity. Love is closing the gap. When a gap appears, your nervous system perceives life-threatening danger. Your brain equates emotional distance with physical annihilation. Because of this, you assumed your absence would trigger the exact same panic in them. You thought they would sprint towards you. You projected your own nervous system entirely onto theirs. But the avoidant partner does not share your nervous system. This is the brutal truth you must internalize. For you, safety equals closeness. But for an avoidant, safety equals distance. Safety equals absolute autonomy. A quiet, empty room where no one demands anything from their emotional reserves. You must understand their childhood wiring. In their formative years, connection was either deeply suffocating or painfully absent. To survive, their developing brain learned that depending on others is a dangerous liability. It learned to completely shut down the primal need for another human being. So, when you declared no contact and closed the door, you thought you were deploying a psychological bomb to shatter their indifference. But they did not see a bomb. They saw an open door. They felt a sudden massive release of pressure. You are taking their silence as a deliberate punishment, a calculated plot to destroy your self-esteem. But the truth is much less personal. Their silence is not a weapon. It is a heavy, impenetrable shield. Toward the end of the relationship, their emotional system began to overload. They felt engulfed by a demand for intimacy their nervous system literally could not process. Your sudden departure did not trigger an alarm to chase you. It triggered an automated subconscious protocol to lock the heavy iron doors of their mind. You are waiting for the deafening silence to break, while they are using that exact same silence just to breathe. Let us step inside the human brain. Let us look under the skull and examine the biological reality of what is happening right now. Because you are sitting there, torturing yourself, believing that their silence is a calculated, malicious choice. You believe they are actively choosing to ignore your pain. But to understand the avoidant, you have to stop looking at their behavior and start looking at their neurology. Right now, your brain is in a state of absolute physiological emergency. Your amygdala, the almond-shaped alarm bell in your brain, is ringing incessantly. It is flooding your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. You are experiencing the exact same chemical withdrawal as a drug addict going cold turkey. Your chest is tight. Your stomach is in knots. Your brain is obsessively scanning every memory, every text message, every single interaction, searching for a drop of dopamine, searching for a way to fix the broken bond. You are entirely consumed by the fire of your own nervous system. Now, let us look at the avoidance brain. You expect to see the same fire, you expect to see the same panic, but when you look inside their mind, what you find is an ice-cold, impenetrable vault. What you are witnessing in their silence is a profound neurological phenomenon known as deactivation. Deactivation is not a mood. It is not a conscious strategy to hurt you. It is an automatic biological circuit breaker. Think of a house experiencing a massive power surge. If the electricity keeps flowing at that intense, uncontrollable rate, the entire house will catch fire and burn to the ground. To prevent complete destruction, the main breaker simply trips. Everything goes dark. Everything shuts down. The system saves itself by completely cutting the power. That is exactly what just happened inside the avoidance brain. During the final weeks or months of your relationship, the emotional demands, the conflicts, or even just the deepening intimacy created a massive power surge in their nervous system. Their subconscious registered your need for closeness as a life-threatening pressure. Their system was overloading, and the moment you walked away and initiated no contact, their internal circuit breaker tripped. In an anxiously attached person, the emotional centers of the brain override logic. But in a highly avoidant person, the prefrontal cortex, the logical regulating part of the brain, operates like a ruthless dictator. When the avoidant feels emotionally overwhelmed, their prefrontal cortex literally clamps down on their amygdala. It forcefully suppresses their emotional responses. It secretes neurochemicals that act like emotional anesthesia. They do not feel the agonizing heartbreak that you are feeling because their brain has literally numbed the receptors. They have entered a state of emotional flatline. If you could see them right now, they might be sitting on their couch, watching television, playing video games, or burying themselves in work. They look entirely normal. They look completely unaffected. They look as though you never even existed. And this is the part that destroys you. You see this flatline and you think, I meant nothing. They never loved me. But that is the illusion of the circuit breaker. They are not feeling nothing because you meant nothing. They are feeling nothing because feeling everything would completely destroy their fragile psychological infrastructure. They do not have the emotional tools to process the grief, the guilt, and the complex reality of losing you. So their brain simply refuses to process it at all. They compartmentalize. They take every memory of you, every warm moment, every argument, and they lock it away in a heavy steel box in the darkest corner of their mind. They throw away the key, and they focus entirely on the present moment, on the physical world, on anything that does not require them to feel. You are crying over the death of the relationship, while they have medically induced themselves into a psychological coma. The silence you hear is not them laughing at your pain. The silence you hear is the sound of a completely shut down, deactivated human being, surviving the only way their traumatized brain knows how. Let us look at the timeline. Let us look at the exact reality of the first few weeks after the door closes. You are living in an absolute nightmare. You are curled up on the bathroom floor. You are barely eating. You are barely sleeping. You wake up at 4 a.m. with a heavy, crushing weight on your chest, desperately reaching for a phone that has no new messages. You are in the deepest trenches of grief, processing the loss of a future you desperately believed in. But what are they doing? Let me tell you the brutal, agonizing truth. The truth that makes your stomach drop and your heart shatter all over again. They are breathing a massive, deep sigh of relief. This is the hardest pill to swallow. While you are drowning in sorrow, they are experiencing an intoxicating wave of freedom. They are walking around feeling lighter. They are waking up in an empty bed, and instead of feeling the crushing void of your absence, they feel a sudden peaceful emptiness. The pressure is gone, the expectations are gone, the heavy suffocating demand to be emotionally available has vanished into thin air. We must look at the neuroscience of this relief. Toward the end of your relationship, whether you realized it or not, your very presence had become a biological trigger for them. Your perfectly normal human needs, the need for a text back, the need for reassurance, the need for a weekend plan were processed by their avoidant brain as an immense, intolerable threat to their autonomy. Their cortisol levels, the stress hormone, were constantly elevated just by being in a committed dynamic. They felt trapped. They felt like they were slowly suffocating under the weight of your love. So, when you walked away, when you initiated no contact, you instantly removed the source of their stress. The moment you stopped reaching out, their cortisol levels plummeted. Their nervous system, which had been in a constant state of low-grade fight or flight, suddenly regulated itself. They experienced a biological rush of calm. This sudden drop in stress hormones actually mimics the feeling of happiness. It creates a physiological high. This is the avoidant relief phase, and it is the greatest psychological illusion they will ever experience. During these first few weeks, they will convince themselves that they made the right choice. They will tell themselves, and probably their friends, that you were just too incompatible, that you were too needy, that the relationship was just too much work. They will go out with friends. They will throw themselves into their hobbies. They will post smiling pictures on social media, pictures that will completely destroy you when you inevitably look at them. You will look at those pictures and think, "How can they be so happy? Did I mean absolutely nothing? Was I the problem all along? No, you were not the problem. You are just witnessing a traumatized brain throwing a welcome home party for its favorite coping mechanism, isolation." You and the avoidant process a breakup in completely opposite directions. For an empath or an anxiously attached person, the pain hits on day one. The grief crashes over you like a tidal wave the moment the relationship ends. You process the trauma immediately, up front, in raw, unfiltered agony. But the avoidant postpones the grief. They push it away. They use this relief phase as a protective shield to keep the reality of your absence from sinking in. They are not actually happy. They are just temporarily unburdened. They are celebrating the removal of pressure entirely blind to the fact that they have also just removed the love, the warmth, and the connection they secretly desperately crave deep down in their subconscious. They are living on borrowed time. The relief is real to them right now, but it is shallow. It is a chemical illusion built on the foundation of avoidance and illusions. No matter how convincing they feel in the beginning, eventually shatter. Let us talk about ghosts. Let us talk about the invisible haunting that is about to take place inside the avoidant's mind. Right now, you feel like you have been entirely erased. You feel as though you have been permanently deleted from their hard drive. But attachment theory reveals a fascinating and deeply tragic paradox. An avoidant individual struggles immensely to love a living, breathing human being who is standing right in front of them, but they are remarkably skilled at loving a ghost. This is known as the Phantom X phenomenon, and it is a foundational pillar of the avoidant psychological architecture. To understand this, you must look at how their brain processes proximity. When you were together, when you were physically and emotionally present, your love was registered as a biological threat. Your perfectly normal desire for closeness triggered their deepest subconscious fears of engulfment and loss of autonomy. To protect themselves from this perceived threat while you were together, their brain deployed deactivation strategies. It actively magnified your flaws. It convinced them that you were too needy, too loud, too demanding, or simply not the right fit. Their brain built a thick defensive wall of criticism just to keep you at arm's length. But now, because you have initiated no contact, you are gone. The physical threat of your presence has been completely removed from their environment. And here is where their neurology creates a cruel, agonizing irony. Because you are no longer there to trigger their fear of intimacy, their brain no longer needs to deploy those deactivation strategies. The mental walls that kept your love out slowly begin to lower. The heavy fog of cortisol has cleared. The initial relief phase has entirely run its course.